Now that we got all this wood on, it's time to go sand it down. We're trying to get all of our sanding done so that we can, well, we have this scaffold here in the house. So we're using this scaffold to go and make passes through the great room to get all of these beams sanded down. And then we're also sanding the walls in the higher portions. And we're trying to get this all sanded so that when I take this scaffold out of here, I can go ahead, get it cleaned up, and start laying our floor. So from construction on the house, you'll end up with pencil marks, and you'll end up with other marks like this here is more of a mark that my circular saw would leave on there. And then you can also end up with other marks, for whether it was lifted with fork trucks or how it was handled. Sometimes they get stepped on, they have footprints on them. So what you end up with is you end up with a lot of small marks on your wood. And some of those might be able to come out with a wet rag or a damp towel and wipe them off. But we're finding that some of these darker spots that you just need to sand them. So we've decided to just go with the sanding that seems to do better. It's a lot more time consuming probably, but it seems to do a better job than trying to wipe it down with a wet rag. So what we're using a palm sander. We're using this is a quarter sheet palm sander. We're using 120 grit paper on the walls, and we're using 80 grit on the beams. The reason we're using 80 grit on the beams is they are a rougher lumber than the walls are. The walls are a lot smoother, and you need that coarser grit to be able to get the marks in the wood. And one other way of trying to take them out was to use bleach. And bleach and water and try to wipe down the wood. We tried that as well, but that seemed to turn your wood yellow, and a lot of times it didn't end up getting off some of the marks that we wanted it to. And then if you drip it down, it makes yellow drip marks on the rest of the wood. So we didn't actually like the bleach water ideas unless you're doing the entire wall. So that's another reason we decided to go with the sanding instead of trying to use a wipe down method. So I had to come down to the basement to show better examples. We've pretty much got everything sanded out upstairs. There's only a little bit left to do upstairs. But you can see there's some fingerprints here along the wall, and this is left over from the guys who hung the wall. Sometimes it's a footprint, you can see a boot. Sometimes it's just marks from tooling and mud and stacking. But we just seem to think that the sanding works better for us. Now this is an unplanned episode. I didn't really think I'd have an episode on sanding. But the reason I ended up doing this is because this is a couple weeks now and we've been doing this in our spare time. My wife's been doing it during the week. I've been doing it on the weekends. And there's just so much wood in this house, and there's so much little marks left over from construction that it's just taken us forever. So I thought maybe I'd just do a little episode just so you kind of realize how much time it's going to take to be able to sand when your entire house is covered in wood. It's going to take a lot of time.